I got introduced into board games after having a history in tabletop miniature war games. Whilst I love the miniatures and the overall cosmetic appearance miniature war games provide, the complex rules that most have always led me to spend more time painting or writing army lists, just about anything to do with the hobby but actually playing it. So when a miniature war game, board game with easy mechanics caught my attention, I straight away handed over my hard-earned cash. That's a lie. After consulting my significant other, my beautiful significant other, I handed over my our hard-earned cash. Memoir 44 by Days of Wonder is a game for 2 players or team play. Approximate playtime of 30 to 60 minutes, recommended for ages 8 and up. Memoir 44 basically airdrops you into the key battles that turned the tide in Western Europe during World War II. You'll command your troops in battlefields that define the history of the 20th century. The goal of the game is dependent on the mission the players are playing. The rulebook gives you 16 missions. A victory in the game will involve you obtaining a set number of victory medals, which can be obtained mainly by erasing enemy units or, depending again on the mission, things like capturing points. So let's have a look at a basic overview of how the game is played.
The board is set up into 3 main sections divided by red lines. Each mission will have you set up the terrain in a way that reflects a historical battle. Here I have an example of some of the terrain. We have towns, forests, hedgerows, and a river. Each piece of terrain will affect the elements of the game like movement, line of sight, and cover from incoming fire. Players will then place miniatures, again according to the mission setup. Here the miniatures are represented by shapes. Circles are infantry, rectangles are tanks, and the upside down V's represent artillery. Each time a wound is caused to a unit, 1 miniature for each wound will be removed from that unit. So a tank unit obviously has 3 wounds, infantry 4 and artillery 2. When a unit is wiped out completely, the attacking player holds on to the last miniature as a victory medal. The starting player will play a card from his hand. Cards will activate units, so this card will activate all units in the left flank. This card will activate 1 unit in the centre, and when he redraws a card at the end of his turn, he will be able to redraw 2 and pick the one that he thinks will benefit him most. If green chooses a centre card, he will be able to activate 1 unit within this area. The unit he chooses to order can then move. An infantry unit can move 1 hex and still battle, or 2 hexes and not battle. Green chooses to move this unit only 1 hex. The ordered units after movement can then battle. An infantry unit can battle up to 3 hexes away. To battle, you will roll a unique 6-sided dice. Let's have a look. The star is used in conjunction with some command cards, otherwise it is considered a miss. A grenade scores a wound on any type of enemy unit. The infantry token will score a wound on an enemy infantry unit. The tank will only score a hit on an enemy tank unit. The flag will cause an enemy to retreat. The number of dice an attacking infantry unit rolls is simple, 3, 2, 1. So green will only roll 1 die and try to wound the enemy infantry unit. It's a success and the enemy unit removes 1 infantry model. Let's have a look at the other units. Tanks can move 3 hexes and still battle. They have a battle range of also 3 hexes, but they will roll 3 dice. So tanks, as you can imagine, are quite nasty. Artillery is my favourite. They can only move 1 hex, and if they move they can't battle, but, well, let's just say I reckon they're the nastiest thing in the game. Here, the town hexes would normally block line of sight for infantry and tanks to all enemy units in the centre. Artillery though does not need line of sight, and artillery has the longest range, so the number of dice artillery roll when battling is 3, 3, 2, 2. What's that, folks? You want more? Okay, also 1, 1. So let's have a look at the things I didn't like about this game so much. Well, 1. It didn't have a... no. Okay, 2. No. 3. It didn't really... Well, there were no faults as far as I can tell. I think it makes for quite a balanced game. So let's have a look at the 3 little things that stood out to me as a big thumbs up. Everything has a spot in the box. The game unpacks and packs up very easily. There is a rules summary card for each type of terrain. You lay them alongside the board and you won't have to refer to the rulebook for terrain modifications to the game. The historical background supplied for each mission. really helps players understand more about what they're trying to achieve and why.
As you can see, the mechanics behind Memoir 44 are quite simple. Upon reading the rulebook that is both well written and has great examples, I was somewhat concerned the mechanics were too simple and that the game couldn't possibly offer strategic or tactical play at all. The game, I thought, must have a strong element of luck, and my assumption for this was based on the dice and card play involved. And whilst luck is certainly involved in the mechanics of Memoir 44, I never felt in our games that having luck on your side played a part in actually winning a game in Memoir 44. I felt tactics did. After my first play, I was already seeing strategy in the game, but I will say it's sort of a game where by the end of your opponent's next turn, any strategy you may have had going into the game, it may have already gone out the window by the end of his turn, which is one of my favourite things about this game, believe it or not. It seems to always keep you on your toes and really focus on every move your opponent makes and adjust your tactics as he plays out his. So if there was any player downtime during the game, I never noticed, as I always seem to be involved in it. There are plenty of tactical choices and decisions to be made in Memoir 44 on your turn, based on your hand of cards and the current layout of your troops and his troops. And surprisingly, there always seems to be a beneficial combination of the two components. You're never just passing and drawing cards until you get the one you want or anything like that. Now, there are only 16 missions provided with the base game. 16 missions sounds, well, a bit limiting, but it really isn't. No game goes exactly the same, and there are always two sides to each historically correct story or mission provided. So players, after playing one round, can swap sides to try their hand at victory from another perspective. Replay value for me has been no problem with this game as a standalone game. The game gets played very often and I still enjoy every game I play. There are plenty of expansions to try. Some will add new terrain, boards, scenarios, planes, and there's some that add more players. So my forecast for future replay value is, well, I'll probably run out of money long before I stop playing this game. Onto components, well, it's days of wonder. I'd be shocked if you opened the box and were disappointed at all. All the components in the game are excellent. There's about 140 odd miniatures. The double-sided board, one side is a field and one side's a beach. That was a fantastic addition, I thought. The command cards are great, however not plastic coated, which I usually find coating a big bonus. But because the game comes with card holders, the cards aren't handled quite so much, and it probably wouldn't make much of a difference if they were coated. Sleeving is an option I may look into later though. Artwork seems to really suit the game perfectly. Each terrain hex is easily identifiable from the next. The design of the double-sided board and the hex terrain and how everything goes together to create a really nice looking game is great. It sort of makes the game, once set up, very appealing to players and passers-by, and it adds greatly to the theme. I think if you're into wargaming and after a lighter game with plenty of theme, whether it be for a beer and pretzels wargaming night or perhaps to get younger ones involved in the hobby so that you can benefit from their birthdays and Christmases, I think Memoir 44 will be right up your alley. In saying that, I'm not trying to give you the impression that this game is a beer and pretzels game or has little depth. It actually is a lot deeper than I thought it would be. But for a wargamer coming into Memoir 44 expecting a heavier sort of board game thing, you may walk away a little disappointed. Memoir 44 is a more than welcome addition in my collection. The cost in Australia is around the $100 mark. Thanks for joining me today on another episode of Castelli Reviews.